Hi and welcome to Fabric Buys. It is May 31st, 2024. I'm doing some catch up on filming some videos today. And this is a double zippered boxed pouch by Christine's Home Affairs. I've been working on this project kind of off and on throughout this month. I am just finally catching up on making some videos today. So the really cool thing about this is this pouch has a zipper in the center here. And then you can flip it over and there's a zipper on the other side. So there's a zipper on this side and a zipper on this side. It's a fairly easy sew also. It's a fun sew on that one. So I watched her video when it came out, I think, when it came up in my feed at any rate. And I really like some of the features of the bag. I like the, double zippered part of it. She also took, she uses an extra long zipper in order to make it easier to sew. And when she cuts the ends off, she uses the ends as the pulls on the bag, which I thought that's super cool on that. So I did that, and I made, I followed the directions and I made this bag. And what happened, and you'll see it on her video as well, is the lining comes out really, really blousy. And so I sewed it like, based on her instructions, and you'll need to go to her video to see what that is. And then when I got done, I don't like it really blousy. So what I did was on the inside, on the lining, on the corners, I went from this corner on this side across to this corner. I pulled it tight, pressed a straight line on it, and then I stitched down a 1/4 inch to take up a 1/4 inch seam to take up some of that excess. And then on the bottom corner here and the bottom corner here, I did the same thing. And so I ended up with 2 little 1/4 inch flaps, which was 1/2 inch of fabric each. And I just laid them flat and I hand stitched them together here to take up the blousiness. And I did that on both sides of the lining, on the one side and the same thing on this side. And so it took up a lot of that excess blousiness. Although you can see it's still a little bit, but not too bad on that one. So that kind of told me, okay, so the lining measurements are probably a little bit longer than they need to be. And so let's see, 1/4 inch twice on each side is actually 1/2 inch twice on each side. So 2 inches, it was pretty much 2 inches. I could go 2 inches shorter with this lining and it should still work. And that's so what I ended up doing was, okay, I want to try that out. So I made this bag on it. So this bag I used a longer zipper because I like the little tabs here, but I wanted them to be a little bit longer, and because in this length zipper I didn't have the colors that I wanted to use with this fabric, so I stepped up in the length of the zipper. I went a little bit longer on that one. And so on this bag I did follow all the same directions pretty much, except I think I'm losing my voice, except that I went with a shorter lining on that. So and also in the process I made a mistake. One of the steps is you cut a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch, I can't remember how much, off the lining, and I forgot to do that. So other than that, this process is the same exactly as that one. It's just shorter, and you can see with no adjustments on the lining, it worked out to fit really nicely in there. So then when she was talking at the end of her video, she was talking about, and I was thinking the same thing as I was watching, she was talking about, well, maybe interfacing would take up some of that blousiness. And so I thought, well, all right, let me give that a go. And so I made this one. So yeah, it's a fun bag to sew. And so I was kind of getting into it on that one. So this bag has the lining cut to the shorter dimensions, so cut off 2 inches of the length of it. And then I also lined it with Shape Flex, and it really feels nice when you on that one. So this one is great. This one is great too, but this one, the size is great. You change a little bit of how you sew it because your lining is no longer the same length as the exterior part. So when you go to box your corners, they're not lined up, but you can just totally follow all the same directions, and just you're boxing all of them separately anyway. You just have to do it all individually instead of doing it in one cut on that. So, but this one, oh, I did one more thing I forgot to say. anyways, but this one, it just has a different feel to it. It's not so light to it. But the other thing I did to take up that, starting with this bag, this first bag, to kind of take up that excess flowiness, I like to call it blousiness, was I took the two, so you sew, you end up with a seam here. I took the two outer pieces and pulled them apart. I found the centers of the linings, which this one, of course, you have the seam in, so you know where it is. This one, you just find the center and you press it, so you know where it is. And I just lined up the two centers, and I stitched with the outer pieces out of the way. I just stitched from the one side to the other as far as I could go. So I sewed essentially the two linings together down the center, which kind of worked out nicely because it pressed down that big flappy thing you get when you sew your seam closed on that one. And so that helped take up that a little bit of that extra bossiness as well. And I did that on each of the bags, so each of the linings are sewn together once they're done. So on this one, that's what I did. This and this bag are essentially the same, except I did remember to cut off that extra, which I found you don't need that. When you cut the lining shorter, you don't need to cut off the extra. And if you watch your video, you'll understand what I'm talking about on that one. So, but it doesn't matter either way. But you don't need to cut off the extra when you shorten the lining. And then I sewed that together. And so the last piece was the last thing she said on her video with these is you can actually sew these double zippered. And if you don't want to deal with having to try to box the corners, because it's a little, she uses the word fiddly. So it's a little hard. It's not really hard. I don't know what to say. That's not a good word, but you can struggle trying to get the boxes in, especially in the lining, and especially when you shorten the lining. Now you've got less space to work with. And so she talked about, well, then make the bag without boxing it. And I thought, well, that's a cool idea, but I wonder if you can make the bag and still box the outside, because that's pretty easy to do, but not box the lining. And so that's what I did on my last one. So I had to piece together my lining piece, because I was using, this is also a great scrap buster on that. But so this bag is stitched where I boxed the exterior, but I didn't box the lining, and that is the ticket right there. You don't have to box the inside pockets or the inside linings. You don't have to box the linings on the inside. It doesn't matter because you can't tell. Absolutely no difference on that one. So this one is sewn exactly like this one, where I did actually use the shape flex on the inside of it. I just didn't box the corners. And I did still sew the base together. I kind of did a waffly job here, but I did sew the bases together. Just pull the exteriors out on that one, but you don't need to box it. And that makes it way easier, because instead of boxing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 corners, you only have to box the 4 on the outside, and it goes way quicker, and it still works out perfect. Oh, the other thing I did on this one was I used batting, and so I had to quilt it on there on that. So there they are. Let me see, did I think of anything else? One other thing, one part of the video that she has, when you first put the when you get the first lining done, before you're working on the second lining, I think it is, you're supposed to stitch it across, and you stitch essentially the whole lining across, but you don't actually have to do that. When I did it, I only stitched across the zipper and across the zipper. I did it on the first one, I did it following the video, but after that, I found it's easier just to stitch across just where the zipper is. Instead of stitching the lining all the way down, because you're boxing those, well, in theory, you were boxing those corners. You don't actually have to anymore on that one. So you could probably go either way on that. And that's it. So there they are. There it is. And then there it is. And then there it is. And then there it is. So there they are. I hope you like them. I hope that wherever and whenever you're at, you're having a great time. And thanks for watching.